This week on the podcast, the one and only Parisi.
Playing together all our life, we always loved to perform. Yeah. And that's something that was missing, of course, being like behind the scenes.
It was an unbelievable 2 days because on the first day we made Turn on the Lights and Calling On.
You make your own luck by, of course, like working hard and like working towards something that you really wish will happen at some point.
Before we start, there's a question for you. Are you trying to get your music on more playlists? If the question is yes, then carry on listening. Songstats have just made that way easier. They've got this new tool called Playlist Check, where you can pretty much see how any playlist is performing. And it even grabs the curator's contact details, which is game changing for all of us. Like, this is amazing. When they told me about this, I was like, wow, this is sick. On top of that, they've teamed up with Submit Hub, Groover, Daily Playlist, Song Rocket, and loads more, which pretty much just allows you to submit your music to any playlist in the world, which is game changing. And the best part of this, you can get 10% off subscription for life using the code word WillClarke, or just hit the link in the description. If you want your music heard by more people, which we all want, you need to get involved. Songstats, code word WillClarke, or hit the link in the description. Peace. Now, time for the episode. Boys, Jack, Marco.
Yeah.
Great to have you on.
So nice to be here. Thank you, Will.
It's nice to be in touch. I feel like we've been like briefly in touch over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's nice to finally chat. So how are you? You guys well?
Same.
Very good.
Very good. Very good. Thank you.
Your project, I was made aware of you guys. I think it was probably when I heard about you kind of doing the Fred stuff, and then getting a little bit more in depth of what you do on a production level. And then you guys started releasing records as Parisi as well, and now you're doing this live thing. It's kind of like been an interesting journey. Where did it all start? Was it always writing for other people? Was it always production for other people? Or did you have careers before that as touring artists as well?
Well, like, it depends how far back we want to go.
Exactly.
You tell me.
We can go, we can do probably a brief story, let's say, of where everything's.
Yeah, because I think majority of people that are listening will know from the last 5-6 years, but obviously we've all had way longer careers, right? So I think it'd be nice for people to kind of know a little bit more of the history.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, is, we are brothers.
Yeah.
And, we have, we're born and raised in Italy, in this little town called Salerno, which is very close to Naples.
Yeah.
And basically, Marco and I have always played music since, since I basically have memories, I still remember being, very, very tiny, probably 3-4 years old. And my first memories are Marco playing the piano. So, we started very, very little. And Marco is a piano player, of course. And I basically studied drums most of my life before moving into, different avenues like DJing and music production.
And we played together every day. That was literally what we're doing, every single. I think our favorite thing was to play, soundtracks from movies and stuff, and then we approach obviously pop music. And our dad is a musician as well, so we grew up in a family of musicians. We had this room with a piano, a few synthesizers, like the first Yamaha synthesizers, and a Fender Rhodes that is still in our studio.
No way.
Today, we brought it back from Italy. Our dad got it new in 88, I think. And then so I mean, that was our favorite game, and we were dreaming of being on stages, basically. When you are, I remember Dad putting on VHS of the Pink Floyd's concert and Paul McCartney and Stevie Wonder and stuff. So our dream was we want to be on the stage. That's what we want to do. So we grew up dreaming of being session musicians, basically.
Okay.
So I played piano my entire life, and Jack played drums his entire life until we were probably 12, 13. At that age, I got into jazz music as well, and classical. I really wanted to expand the horizons, because I had these great ideas in my head, but my hands were not ready.
Yeah.
So I was like, I need to improve my technique and obviously expand my ideas. So that's what I did, and thank God, Jack went opposite direction.
Yeah, basically, like, while Marco was like, okay, I want to study jazz and like classical music and improve my techniques, I was like, you know what, like, I don't know if I want to keep playing and study drums. So like, I basically like started to discover DJing, like going to clubs, like these like very small clubs in my hometown. So like I started to DJ, started to discover basically like house music and tech house music, which back in the days in Italy was like huge.
Yeah.
So like I started to DJ. Then I started to understand that all these, like all these DJs, like they were going to the studio to actually make the songs. And to me, it was like, oh, okay, that's actually even more interesting. Like, let me try to get into that. And I still like remember I basically started to watch YouTube tutorials of like these people producing in the studio, like, so I started, I remember, with Cubase back in the days, and then I moved into Logic like a year after using Cubase, and yeah, like I literally, like, since that day, I probably like spend most of my life in the studio watching YouTube tutorials on, like, learn how to use Logic, how to make songs, how to stack sounds together, discovery, like all like these plugins and things. And like, of course, my I'd say like long time heroes are the like were and still are the Swedish House Mafia.
Yeah.
And I still remember watching the video of them in the studio when they were creating One, and like
That documentary was iconic.
Oh my God. Yeah. Like that for me was like so inspiring. I was like every day trying to understand how do they do those songs, like and literally like I fell in love with that. And
Will, Jack's first flight
ever
of his entire life was to go to Miami and see the Swedish House Mafia live.
No way.
Literally, like the first time I went on a plane away from Italy was to go to Miami, a winter music conference in 2012.
Yeah.
And I never, like I didn't speak English at all back, like it was like completely like, okay, I'm gonna just go. I went like with my best friend, who's a like DJ music producer as well. So like but I was just like so inspired, like fell in love with like producing and creating songs. I think that's such like a deep beauty into like being creative in the studio and make something that then you release and like it's out there in the world and people can listen to it. I think like there's something so deep and beautiful about that, and I just like fell in love with it. And I still remember like the first times that Marco were like coming to the studio, and like as he said, he was against me like doing this, like he was like, why are you doing this?
I was
how the times have changed, hey.
I was publicly dissing him on socials, be like, Jack, what are you doing? Why are you DJing? You should study drums. So
it's so fun. I still have a Facebook screenshot of that, by the way.
Said like a true jazz musician, just like hates anything electronic, just
exactly.
You must be acoustic.
Yeah, but then then I was able to convert him, because I still remember he was like starting to come to the studio and I was producing and working on songs and things, and he started to get fascinated about the process of actually like like creating, because you need to think about all the instrumentation, like what every instrument is doing and the mix and the structure. So like after a few like I think like days, weeks, Marco like literally got completely sold into it. I was like, okay, let's just work together. Let's make music together.
And I completely underestimated how hard it was. I couldn't even get close to that. Like I always thought, like I can play all these chords. I can figure out some simple melodies to make some of those songs. And the truth is, it's incredibly hard.
Yeah.
You just don't realize. And then there was and then I quickly got there, and then I got really fascinated. I was like, this is exciting. I want to learn. I want to get better at this, and I want to understand. And still today, like, there's not a single day where I don't feel I'm learning something. It's a never-ending process.
It must be really interesting, not just as brothers, but just working together all the time on top of each other. Because I think there's, for me, when I'm in the studio by myself, I can get into the habit of just doing the same, of like,
Yeah.
like not pushing yourself. But I feel like when I'm in with somebody else, it's kind of like, well, you're learning from them, they're learning from you, and also you're both trying to like up your game each time.
Absolutely.
And it's like you have to
Always,
perform
yeah.
when you're in the room with somebody else. You have to perform. It's definitely an interesting having somebody always there.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think we also found, like after all these years now, I think we have our, like our balance. Like I know what Marco can do, and I'm not as good as him as doing like what he does, and
vice versa, obviously.
and-
I think we are very good at complementing each other. So
Yeah.
everything that Jack can do, I'm not good at.
But I think
So
also being when you're working together so often, and also being brothers, you have the ability to just be brutally honest with each other.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Always.
1,000%. Like if I don't like something, I don't have to, like take it with me. I just say it. So of course, like that helps, as you said, like push the boundaries always a tiny bit like forward, and like pushing each other to make the best we can.
I think it speeds the process up as well, right?
Yeah. Like, I can confidently say that, like, I think Mark and I, like we have a very fast way of like working and creating, because while I'm building something, maybe drums and other things, Marco is thinking of like something else, and of course we're always linked on the same BPM, and we can literally like build all the things from scratch very quickly, because it's in this case like it's two people doing two different things but like working towards the same goal. So that becomes
and also it's literally 10 years of doing this. Like it's when we look back, and I think Jack, you can say the same thing. The first sessions we did, that it just it's not who we are today, and that without just this slow growth and step after step, and we're learning, and still today we're learning so much about each other in this process, and we can make it better. I think what we are doing today that we didn't do much in the past is challenging each other even more. So we always try to be hypercritical. That sometimes is not good, but I think I think we know when it's right and when it's not right, and I think we're getting better at pushing each other a little bit, to be like, we know we can do what we're doing now. Let's try and do something that we know we're not good at, so we can explore that thing of ourselves and see what can lead us to. But yeah, it's definitely, and also I think we have this subconscious understanding of, I think it's rare, this kind of chemistry. And obviously, Will, as you say, this because first we're brothers, but also because we played together every genre, every possible kind of if progressive in 7/8, or like like we did everything. So I think like we got to this point where we really understand each other, and we can build quick things that are satisfying already.
So when did it start becoming like a thing for you guys, as like this is a career?
So like I'd say, like after, like as I was saying before, after then, like we started like to produce together. We did a few like things in Italy, like produced like a couple of records, but we always felt that Italy, like it's a fantastic country, and like music here is beautiful, but like we always thought we wanted to challenge ourselves and try, we felt this wasn't our like forever place, especially for the music we wanted to do. So basically, like what happened is like we produced a few songs here in Italy. Sometimes we were like touring with artists here, like me as a drummer, Marco as a piano player. So we did that for a few years, and then what happened is that after in 2000, I think, Marco, was it 2013 or 14?
Was 2013. that basically our dad. So our dad at the time, when he stopped being a session musician, there was 1998, I think. He decided to open a musical instrument shop.
Cool.
So we had this, and it was called Master Music, and we had all these instruments coming in every day. Obviously, lots of keyboards, lots of stuff, and we spent every day with him in the shop, and testing all this new instrument and learning, and so that this idea was like, Marco, there is this thing called YouTube. Why don't you try and put some videos of you on, and maybe you never know what happens. So I did that, and I got a call from Korg. It's a Japanese brand for keyboards, a legendary brand. And they were like, Marco, we would love for you to be our ambassador. So that's how I started. I had this feeling. I was like, maybe this could be an interesting key for me to get to know people outside of my country, and I need to get ready at this. And so I started to study English. I went to this bass player, a friend of mine, Manuel, and his mom is from UK. So I was like, Manuel, you need to teach me how to speak English. I need to do it now, because I feel I'm gonna be in some context where I really need to be able to express myself and to be able to have conversations. So I did that, and a year after, I was at Music Messe, that is a trade show for musical instruments in Germany. I don't know if they're doing that anymore. It's like a NAMM show, but it was in Europe. And long story short, Will, our dad, when he plays synthesizers, like on the synthesizers, we have like the pitch bend on the left, right? Yeah. So you can move the pitch. So when he was doing that, he always did this movement with his right hand, like, kind of doing the vibrato on the keys when he was playing his guitar patches and stuff. And obviously, that's your dad. You want to do what he does. So Jack and I always did that. When we were playing a guitar patch or every instrument that has a natural vibrato in the way he expresses himself, we did that thing on the pitch. So I always did that movement. So I was in Music Mess. I was doing this demo of a Korg keyboard. I had a solo part, and I started to do this movement on the keys. And then I had in front of me the keyboard player for Dream Theater, is Jordan Rudess. And Jordan comes over and he's like, Marco, I saw you doing this movement on the keys. I'm carrying here with me the first prototype of this instrument called Seaboard, where actually that movement works. You should try it. So and he was like, I think you should come to London. We should go together to the company. You should meet the inventor and CEO, Roland. And then you never know what happens. So after a month, I fly to London. I remember that so vividly. It was April 2014, I think. I land in London. I go to the office. I see the Seaboard there. I swear, like, I touched it and I was like, I know how to play this thing.
Yeah.
I knew. So because maybe I'd always thought my entire life about that. And there was a life-changing moment for me, because I had this strong feeling, this is the instrument that I've been searching since I was a kid without knowing it. And I was craving this expression. That is why I started to play bass and guitar, because I wanted to have more tools. Yeah. Because piano and keyboards it's a very limited thing. It's a binary system. Yes, we have velocity and we can control that, but the truth is, you can't even compare to how expressive a cello is or a guitar is.
Yeah.
So I was like, when I played the Seaboard for the first time, I was like, this, like, I knew I had to master this instrument. And then I've been working for Roly for, kind of back and forth. I was going back to Italy. Roly was like, Marco, we need you here with us. And I was like, no, my brother is still there. We are making music together. I cannot do that. And then after, I think 3 years, they convinced me. So I moved to London. And then basically what happened after 4 or 5 months, Roly was working on a drum-based product, and they were like, Marco, do you know any producer, drummer that is talented, has very good sense of, really good musicality? I was like, I think I have someone that you should meet. And then Jack flies over. He does a little interview, and and test, and then Roland comes and is like, I think Jack, you shouldn't go back to Italy. I think you should move here with Marco. He's living upstairs. I was literally living on the top of the Roly building.
way.
And there was 2016. So when
2016.
Marco, when Marco moved to London completely, 2016, a few months after, I joined the company as well, and I moved to London. And basically, like since 2016, I'd say up until 2020, just when COVID happened, our main main job, like the day job, let's say, was working for Roly. So like we were going to the office, doing the demos, like traveling with them. We did so many demos, like to like artists, producer, investors, labels, but
everyone.
Like there was our day job while we will try to build our network of people and like doing sessions. So like we did
sorry to interrupt, Jack. It was really good, because basically what happened is, while we're doing these demos, we're also able to master those instruments.
Yeah.
So from 9 a.m. until midnight, people were going home at 5, 6 p.m. Jack and I were staying in the office until midnight, trying to understand how to use these things and which sounds we could make, and like how to get the best out of them.
Yeah.
So we I think our social life was zero. But we spend day and night into that room at Roly to master those instruments.
Yeah, and it's also because like we had the feeling is like like being a music producer, like, and an artist. At the end of the day, it's not easy. Like we were like, what is our selling point? Like why people should work with us and want to work with us. Like what do we have as like a point of difference? And we felt that like this new technology, finding new plugins, getting very deep into like sound design and like mastering certain things would have helped building our career. So like those years were very, very key for us to actually like build something different, like so we can bring like into any room something like there was like sounding different. And then so like basically like we did many demos, and the one demos like back in the days was for Will.i.am of the from like the Black Eyed Peas. And like we do this demo for Will, and after we finished the demo, like you always love the products, but like then he was like, guys, like who are you, like tell me a bit more like about your story. And like those days he was working at Metropolis Studios in London, and like he invited us to basically like be with him every day. So that was our first proper like session with like a big artist, and we weren't ready at all.
We were not ready.
We weren't ready at all. Like it's like it's nice you think you're ready to do something, then like we turn up to the studio and we see how Will approaches songs and like can produce, and like we felt definitely not ready, but we were like, okay, we're there. Let's just make the best out of it. Let's learn. Let's follow the process. And of course, there was like like a very like very nice like first ever sessions in London, I'd say. Like we learned so much from Will. He's like such a genius in the way he works like on songs, and we spent like
master of sampling and import tools, like absolutely incredible that.
Yeah. So like we did a few like days of sessions with him. He was like every time he was coming back to London, he was calling us. So like we spent quite a few like times with him in the studio, and as I say, like learn a lot, like produce a couple of songs with him. And then like during those years we met with other artists and producers, but like the dynamic of that was always very tricky, because we were like super respectful that we were going there into like our position of being like like Roly ambassador. So we never said like to people, look, like we also make songs, like unless it was them asking us, like like it happened with Will. And I'd say fast forward 2019, we basically like did a demo at this label, and was in Tile Yard in London. Like the label was Platoon. And like after we finished the demo, we talked with a few people there, and they were like, like there's this like new up and coming, like very talented producer, like whose name is Fred, and I think you guys should just meet, like should I try like and combine something? So we get in touch via email like with Fred and Alex, his brother. And after a few days, we go to like the studio in Talyard, and we meet with Fred, and we meet like we go there to do a demo, like a Roly demo for him. So like we turn up there, we do our demo. He was still not working on his project that we know like nowadays, basically. And but I still remember the feeling of like after many years, like I was like, okay, like we go there. Then he plays a few things that he was working on, and I had, like I was like, like I think now we know how to produce, like we have good sonics and everything. And I still remember when Fred plays a couple of beats that he was working on, and I turned to Marco and I was like, I don't know how to produce. Like if this is
and
like
I still remember the songs, and I
like
even heard them in
in a while, in years,
like
years.
7 years.
Yeah.
Like I still remember the stuff he played. Like there was
They were, like insane, like I honestly like that feeling stayed with me so much. I was like, if that were like I don't know how to produce. Like he's like just like amazing. The way everything was sounding and the structure. But anyway, like we do this demo, and Fred was working on the Ed Sheeran album, the number 6 collaboration projects, and he was like, guys, I love the sounds you have. Like I think you have something that I would probably need for a few records that I'm working on. Like maybe like I'll call you back in a few months so you can come to the studio. And after a few months, he actually like calls us and say, guys, I'm finishing this, like these records. Do you want to turn up at the studio? Like we can work together on a few things. And we go, and he plays to us a few songs where he needed a few of like those like very seaboard sonics, like very like like very like powerful sonics.
Yeah, alive, like
alive,
more
yeah,
alive. Still, feels like a synth, but more alive, basically.
So like he leaves us with these songs, and he's like, guys, I'm gonna go go finish a few things. I'll come back in a couple of hours, and like we can like reconvene and see where you're at. And he comes back, and we play what we did, and he was like like he was like, that's perfect, like that's literally like what I needed, like for like these records. And I'd say since then we always like stayed in touch, and like we became friends up until like what we are now, which we like we consider him family. So it's like there was how we met, and how everything started, and it's been such a like an honor to be part of his project since day one. So after that, of course, like COVID hit, we co-produced a song with him for Ed, which was Afterglow, that came out in 2021 probably, or 2020.
I think,
yeah. And so basically, like after COVID, we stopped working for Roly, and we were like, okay, probably now it's the time to take songwriting and producing more seriously. So let's just get into that. And
I love that you've done Ed Sheeran. You've done like multiple Ed Sheeran records, and then you decide to take it more seriously.
Well, it's
like the craziest thing. Most people are like taking it seriously before they hit the Ed Sheeran level, and then you guys are like, "Fuck it, okay, we've done Ed Sheeran. Like, we should probably take this a little bit more seriously."
But like the thing is that we were still like working so much for Roly, and that was our day job, that those were things we did on the side. And of course, like you never know, maybe
and honestly, Will, we had no idea how to really make money with music.
Of course.
Like that there was like, I think that the first one that spoke to us about the industry and our works was actually Fred and his brother. They were like, there's this thing called neighboring rights, and this, like, we had no idea.
Yeah, we had literally like zero knowledge about how everything worked. So like we were like, okay, these things happen. Now we don't know like if they're gonna continue, if we're gonna get to work with more people. We had no idea. So like we were like, but then with COVID, of course, like not being able to work for Roly in that capacity, we were like, okay, now it's probably the time that we can go full in, because we don't have to travel, we don't have to go to the office, like everything just stopped. So let's just go full in. And during that time, we basically like, I think our career started from there. So like from those songs we did with Fred and Ed, and from there everything, like started to, like one step at a time, like we got a management which helps, like which helped us in a huge way to like start navigating the industry, getting like to do so many sessions every.
Yeah, I remember, Will, we right after COVID, I was saying to Jack is like, we have so much free time now, and I wish we had some session. Like, I would love to meet people and make music with someone. And then after 3 months, I was like, Jack, we need a week off. Like, it's too insane.
We did like so many, literally, like after we signed, like with our management, we did so many sessions in a year. And but that was wonderful because we got to challenge ourselves, meeting with amazing songwriters, amazing producers, amazing artists. We did like so many beautiful songs. Luckily, like few of them, I'd say probably most of them are out, and like they found their home. And yeah, so I'd say probably like now it's 2025, but everything began in 2019. So it's very recent in a way, but yeah, like we've been working towards this for ages.
That's the thing, though, isn't it? It's like it's very like, yes, your career as in a full-time job in music making is early, right?
Yeah.
But having your first records as an Ed record is the reason why it can go so quickly. Yeah. And you not have like you've put the work in for years and years and years beforehand. And
totally.
And I think that is the case of like what a lot of people don't see, right? I think again, Fred is a classic example, right? Where like you see somebody until you dig into somebody's back catalogue and realize how long they've been doing it, it then makes sense when they are successful in the public eye, why they're successul. But like until you're in the industry and don't really look into it, I did the Jax Jones Breathe record.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know Fred was on it until like I looked like 5 years after it was out. Because like you know how these records work. Like multiple people work on them. You're not always in the same room together. Like and then you think like, okay, well, then you go back into even more back catalog and you're like, well, okay, these people have been doing it for years, but now they're famous and doing their thing and making their own artist project. Like, I think it's very easy as consumers of music to go, where the fuck has this person come from? Like, they literally blew up overnight, but no one blows up overnight in this industry.
No, they say, we were saying that it takes 10 years to make an overnight success.
Yeah. It's crazy.
It really feels like that. I think and it's so obvious to, when we look back, the moments where we had opportunities and we were not ready, and I think, when we met Fred, we were mature enough to be able to give something, and but it took so long. It took every moment of the journey got us to this point.
Do you ever get that though? Because I still get that when I go into sessions sometimes. It's like, I know the people in this session are so much more talented than me, like so much more. And it's like, I'm like, why am I even in this? Like, how am I even in this room?
Yeah.
Like, do you still get that?
Yeah,
we do absolutely.
Like it's always learning. There's so many people out there that are like so talented, and it's still so nice to be able to get that feeling, and to like to be learning every day from like new people, like and different people. Like sometimes like we meet with people that maybe they use the exact same thing as we use, same plugin, same DAW, like it's always the same, but their workflow it's different, and I'm like, okay, that's very interesting, and I learned so much. And like and I think like how did we got here, like how are we in this room making this these songs and these records? But then like you look back and you're like, okay, like we worked hard in a way, and we still do every day of our life, of course.
No, I totally agree. I want to go back to you being an absolute Jack, you being an absolute fan or massive fan of Swedish House Mafia, and then then 10 years later you end up releasing a record with them and also producing records for them. Like, how does that feel generally?
Well, of course, it's like they say never meet your heroes. I think they're wrong, because that has been the that has been like the best thing of like of my life. And like I have to tell you like just the backstory of how that happened, because that's the funniest story ever. Basically, like Fred was in touch with Sebastian,
Yeah.
and he didn't tell me, or Marco. He was like planning this thing on our backs, because he wanted like to basically like surprise me, because he like he knew how much of a fan I was. And we were at dinner with Fred and Ed, and it was so funny, because like during this dinner, Ed turns at me and he's like, Jack, are you happy, like like you're going to Sweden finally, like to meet your heroes? And I was like what? I was like wait, like what are you saying? And he was like, yeah, like you're going to Sweden. And then I turned to Fred, and Fred is like, Ed, that was a surprise. Why did you just doing that? That was like so funny, so funny. But and then like Fred is like, yes, we're going to Sweden, like we're going to work with the guys. And I was like, that's the best full circle moment of my life. Like I never thought in years, like when I was in Miami, I probably in the back of like my heart, maybe like there was always that feeling one day I'm gonna work with them, or like at least meet them, but it never crossed my mind. And I still remember we go to like to Sweden, we arrived there, like they opened the door and welcome us into like their studio, their home, and they are like instant family. Like
Eastern family.
the way they let you feel, and everything was just so wonderful. We had like so many conversations, and of course I told them about all the stories, me going to Miami, being super fun, and they were like,
Jack showed the pictures he had with Axwell.
No
yeah.
way.
Yeah. They were like so happy, like about my stories and everything. And like as I said, like they treated us like family, and it was so wonderful, like to be in the studio with them. I was nervous, of course, being in the studio with like my heroes. It's just like such a like a dream, like that came true. But like there were
and there was an unbelievable 2 days, because
we
on
did,
the first day we made
the
Turn on the
Turn on the
Lights
Light sketch,
and
Cooling On. Yeah.
Wow.
both of them in the first 5 hours of the
Of the section. Everything, like I think everything, like there was such a big energy. Everything was there, being happy, making the best music we could make. Like it was just like one of those days in a lifetime of like,
yeah, I'm unforgettable for
yeah,
sure.
like great energy, great minds getting together. Everyone does what does it best, and it just happened. And and it was like so nice. And of course, like then being able to still be in touch with them, producing more songs with them, having a release actually, like with Seb and Steve with our first single. Like everything was just like awesome. Like, and when I think, when sometimes I think back at those things, I still, like sometimes can't believe how certain things happened. And, like, it's like, okay, those are real. They're
I,
there.
I I always say to Jack, if it was 2014 and a man from the future will land into our house, and he will say, by the way, don't worry, in 10 years time you're gonna have, you're gonna meet this guy called Fred, you're gonna have a song with 2 songs with the Swedish Mafia guys and 1 song with Ed Sheeran, and be like, nah,
I would have never.
you're lying. You're lying.
But it's
so
such
incredibly grateful for
it's
everything.
such like and there is a level, right, of like right place, right time. If you didn't do all those years practicing the keys, practicing the drums, then getting the Korg email, then going to work for Roly, then doing countless hours at Roly, and then doing just all of those things that you did to get to that point of being in a room with Fred, right?
Yeah.
And or being in a room with Will.i.am, then going, okay, we need to work, going back to work, then getting in a room with Fred and performing, right? How many sessions have we done, right? Where you go into a session with somebody and it's just an average session and you don't really connect and you don't really see each other again. You're like passing ships through the night. And that could have been that Fred session, right? You could have gone in, not performed, and him go, yeah, not right. Like, not right.
Yeah.
then but you performed, and then look what it turned into.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing, is like those things don't happen by luck. Realistically, there's a level of luck in all of our careers, right? There is a level of like right place, right time, and right people, but you make your own luck.
Yeah, absolutely.
No doubts.
I'm a huge believer of that. Like you make your own luck by, of course, like working hard and like working towards something that you really wish will happen at some point.
Yeah.
Like we're really big believers of like energies and how you put certain energy like into the universe, and and you subconsciously work towards that. Also, like maybe you set your own goals, but you work to go over those goals in a way. So and then like you make your own luck, but everything, it's, as you say, through hard work and just like all the journey we had from start up until now.
No, I totally agree.
There was countless of hours into this small studio with no AC, probably 40 degrees in there. The room was the smallest it can be, and
like
Jack,
this,
Jack was getting there, I don't know, early afternoon, and closing the studio at 5 a.m. every day, and that it just, as you said, Will, it's like it's crafting, and it's like really like always it's a never-ending process, and today the process is still there. We learn every single day. Every session is something new we are learning, and you need to be at the right place at the right time, but you need to be ready to play the opportunity in the right way. It's because suddenly maybe you be asked to play a Champions League final, and you need to be able to score, and if you didn't train for the past 10 years, and and you are in front of the goal, you might miss it, and luckily I think we were ready to score the goal.
Yeah.
And you're carrying on scoring, realistically.
Fingers crossed we'll keep doing that.
Exactly.
At what point in all of this, like the short journey of producing for other people and writing records for other people, at what point was it like, Jack, Marco, we need to do this ourselves. We need to start releasing music ourselves as Parisi, and we need to build an artist's career around that? Because I think production and writing for other people is a career. And a lot of people just do that, right? And until they decide to switch the artist career. Like, again, you could use Fred, for example. He was a writer, producer for other people for years and years and years before he then did his Fred Again project. You guys kind of switched it pretty quick.
Yeah, well, like I think like in the back of our minds, we always like had the idea is like at some point we might do our artist project, but everything came from the fact that playing together all our life, we always loved to perform. And that's something that was missing, of course, being like behind the scenes. Like like you don't get to perform live for people, but that's something that has been so much a part of our life when we were playing drums and piano. So like at some point we were like, if everything goes well, maybe we can do our artist project. And but the switch really happened because we, like after all these sessions we were doing for like the past like 4 years, I'd say, like like 4 or 5 years, we made certain songs that they didn't find their home in a way, like pitching and everything. And after like, and we always played those songs back to like people we trusted and everything, up to a point, like we always started to get the same answer from like many people. It's like, guys, this sounds like you. Have you ever thought of like just like putting these songs out? And we were like, yeah, we wanted to do an artist project, just not that quick. But, like in a way, it's, like, those songs are there. Maybe we can try. Maybe we have to try. And like I was like working on this like sketch with, like with Gets Knock lead, that, by the way, like it's one of probably the first dance song that Marco loved. When he was against, like,
and I didn't want to admit that to myself. I was like, no, I hate it, but I was like, no, I really love it. This is so good. I always find it genius.
yeah, you know, like, and Marco always like told me, you know, like maybe someday we'll do like a version of that, you know, like you know, like a more like modern version of that. And it
And
was
still talking
amazing.
about how magical is the
Yeah.
universe.
How do
I
you
think it
universe
was,
on that? Literally,
yeah,
like probably a couple of days after Marcos, you know, like you know, like told that to me. Basically, like my best friend, whose name is Luca, the you know, like the guy that I went like to Miami with, he sends me a voice note saying, "Look what I found in our old CDs." You know, like when we were going like a DJ together in clubs, and in this voice note there was the isolated lead from Get Knock. And I was like, wait. Marco literally just told me 2 days ago, we need to do an edit of that song. Send me, you know, like rip that CD on and send me the lead. And, you know, like, and then like he did. I worked on a version, and a few months after we went to Sweden to work with like Seb and Steve on a few songs, and we played that song to them. It's like, look, guys, probably like you know, like you remember this one, and we played to them. And after literally like 5 minutes, like they were like, guys, if you don't mind, can we do this song like together? Because you know, like we really feel it so much. It's one of our favorite songs from back in the days. It's like, guys, like,
Of course.
he's
that
like,
would be a dream.
No, you're not allowed.
exactly. Like, guys, sorry, you're not allowed. But, well, of course, he was like, guys, of course, no, you know, like that would be a dream. And that was our like first release. And then we started to work, you know, to work towards our artist project, and has been, I have to say, very challenging. You know, when we work, and I think in general, I'm sure other people can relate. When you work for other people, with other people, you know, like it's completely different. It's like, you know, like we can understand maybe what's missing in a project we're working on and try to
Yeah,
channel.
Fred used, you know, we're talking to him about this, and he used this beautiful analogy that is, it's like when you're working for someone else, you enter in their art gallery and you see all these paintings on the wall, and then there's a painting missing, and you kind of, you can see what, you know, you can imagine what that should be. But like when it's your gallery, the lights are not on there. It just, and this is how we feel right now. I mean, I think we are turning on some lights around it. But it's a very different, it's so different being an artist compared to being a producer and a writer. And we love both sides, and they feed each other, and we'll never want to lose either. But yeah, sorry, Jack.
No. You know, like what I wanted to add is like, one thing is also, you know, like our background, since he's like very musical, playing all these different genres from our childhood up until now, has been very difficult to, you know, like try to channel ourselves into one thing, because we like to do so many different genres. Also, like when we do sessions, you know, like sometimes it's a pop session, sometimes it's a, you know, like EDM session, you know, like it's all very, you know, there's lots of like variety. So when then it comes to our project, is like we love to do so many things. What do we do? And at the end, we are like, okay, we need just to surrender to the fact that this might be a strength, and we just need to go all in and do all the music we love, find a cohesive through line which works, and we just like make like, you know, like the electronic music is the through line, and everything is between is like our project, and we, you know, like we find a way to make it cohesive. But you know, like as I said, it's been challenging, but you know, like we're turning on a few lights, as Marco said, and
I think that's interesting though, and from an outsider's point of view, I think that's what makes your project exciting, especially in the electronic realm, as you all know, that like most electronic artists are just known for doing one thing. And it's kind of like the easy, especially nowadays, it's kind of the easy route to market, right? Oh, you're a tech house producer, you just released tech house music. But like where it's kind of like actually hurt me in as a producer DJ over the years, is that like you build a fan base up based on one genre of music, or like a genre-ish, and then the minute you try and start to vary out of that, you're kind of alienating your fans. But and then you start releasing something else, and then you have to kind of almost build a fan base up again. Whereas if you're in a situation where you're at, it's like if you can create a through line of your sonics, but it's not just one, it's not just house, or it's not just techno, or it's not tech house, or it's not whatever that genre is. I think it allows you to just be way more freer and opener as an artist itself.
Yeah, totally. I completely agree with your point, and that's what we are realizing in a way. Also, that
Yeah.
and it fits very well with also the way we play live, because we love to play with instruments. Like having the freedom of like playing different things and having those moments where really like almost there's no drums and it's just like Marco and I jamming with like two beautiful sounds, and there's like no genre over there, it's just feelings. So we are kind of like realizing it now, and like as I said, like everything is like super exciting. Like we're working towards like making more of a body of work now after releasing many singles and like different songs. Now we feel the need of releasing either like an EP, like, or an album, like whatever is going to become this thing, but like
Yeah.
a body of work where people, maybe like our fan base and the new fans, can just dive in and say, okay, this is who these guys are, and either
Now,
move it or
what they are now, because I always feel there's we evolve very quickly. I feel like the Sonics I was using a year ago are not the Sonics I'm using now, and it's not going to be. I'm not going to be the one in 6 months. So I was saying to Jack, let's try and condensate who we are now, really distill and make something that feels okay. This is our moment in time. This is the music we're making today. That's what we feel these days, and then we move on. Next one. I think yeah, it's that's what we're trying to do. And
I think that's a beautiful thing about a longer form piece of music, in a sense of an album, a long form EP, or something that just kind of it pieces your time. It's that kind of this is us now, and we're on to the next thing. But I think that's kind of lost nowadays to a certain extent.
it is to me, it is,
because it's like you have to feed into, or you don't have to, but what the industry tells you is you have to feed into the algorithm. But realistically, it's like, well, no, the algorithm needs to fall in around you, right? And if you're happy to just release music and not be overly or be able to understand that, okay, the way you release music, if you're releasing music on a bigger EP or an album, it might not perform that well, right? But it is a stand. It's a stamp in time for you as artists, and then you can move on and you can carry on evolving. Realistically, like as Parisi, as like if you can start doing that from the get-go, I feel like you then create fans that are expecting that all the time. Whereas in a situation for me, when I did my first album last year, I'd been releasing records for 12 years and never done an album. And realistically, an album for a Will Clarke album was never expected. So I almost have to build new fans. Whereas I feel like if you can do that from the get-go, it changes your whole fan base.
That's what we are feeling. I think it's even more valuable in this mess, because everything is so chaotic. There's so much going on, and I think obviously attention span is really low, and we know algorithm, all this kind of stuff. And but the truth is, I think if someone can, when it discovers you, then can get into your world and jump into that and live and see if he loves it or not, then I think that's important, and I think as long as that, as long as that body of work feels true to yourself and you are proud of it, and then I think that's what matters, because we want longevity. I think we don't want to play for the short game here. We don't want to have a hit tomorrow and be forgotten in 5 years. We want to be able to do what we love until we are 70. And I think, we want to still be able maybe to play a show when we are 55 or 60, and to have our fans with us, and to, celebrate the journey. And And I think that's our goal. We're not here for we don't want to do this. We want to do this.
Well, I think also the people that you surround yourself with, that you're in the studios with, the sessions you're writing with, that's probably their thoughts as well. It's like
absolutely.
Yeah, we all feel very aligned on that.
Which is like, it's so key. And I think but even with your team, like having the right team around you, that the goals are all similar. Like that
is the most important thing. Like we met during our Roly times. I'm never going to forget this. We met with the CEO of Beats at the time. And he said this thing that resonated with us so much. And he said, choose, like in regards to your team, choose people you want to go on a holiday with. And we have all people in our team that we want to go on holiday with. They're like best friends. They're people we love. And that is a huge difference.
There are people we trust. We are aligned with, like, on the goals and everything, and having everybody that works towards the same goal and everyone does what does best. It's very important. Also because like you get less stressed. Also, which is a very important factor. Like if you're stressed and you have to think a lot about so many things, you're not gonna like perform and make good music if your mind is not like at ease at doing that. So like being able to have a team that supports you in every side of this journey, it just makes life easier, and we can concentrate on making one thing which we know we're good at, and it's making music. And all the rest we can work together. But that good team is very key for us.
No, I totally agree. And I think having a team that allows you to focus on just that one thing, like, it's something I struggle with, where I do a lot. And even, let's say, for instance, the podcast, right? Like the podcast takes up more time than I spend on making music, because, but it's actually not, it's not even part of my career. It doesn't make me money. There's zero money in doing this podcast. Like I still question myself. Like I love the conversations that it's had, but there's still, it's actually like takes up so much of my life that it actually takes away the music. But there's something about it that adds value to my life, in a sense of like, I love these conversations. You and I, we would never have had this conversation, even if we were in the studio together, right?
Not to this level.
Probably not.
So I think like it is amazing, but again, there's days where I'm like, I'll be honest, like I landed back from America yesterday in the early in the early morning, and then I went straight to like editing podcasts after I unpacked my suitcase and went to the gym. And now today I'm recording 4 podcasts, and you're the second one of the day already. And I'm like, dude, when are you going to write music? Like when are you going to chill? When are you going to like let the mind free? But I think you're 100% right. Is like being able to have a team around you that can allow you to just do the art, and everything else gets dealt with in the correct way. And you can fully trust everyone on like what you're doing. I think that's so key. How long did it take you to get that?
It was like it just like we've been, like I think we made the right choices, because like everything started, like from our first publisher, which has been our supporter for like day one, and we met him back in 2017.
What's
and
his
then
name?
Gary Mendel.
That's who put me in touch with you guys.
Great.
I went to breakfast with Gary at Dishoom. I remember this. I was in the process of writing my first album. This was probably 2021.
Wow.
Yeah, I was.
Is that when we signed with Gary?
No, we signed with Gary 2020.
2020. So after that,
and we were eating breakfast at Dishoom is it in Kensington? The Dishoom there, and I was just about to go in the studio at Warner, and he was like, that's when he started telling me about you guys.
Amazing. Yeah, like Gary has been our number one supporter since the Roly days. And
I I am listening. Keep going. I'm just
Yeah,
plugging the light in.
that's okay. So it's like Gary has been our number one supporter, like literally, like since we met him in 2017 when we did our first demo. It was like a platoon, and he always wanted to work with us in like a certain capacity. And so like in like there was like during COVID that basically like we stopped working with Roly, so we had less income coming in. We needed to survive in
We had
London.
no income coming in.
It was a very tough time, as you can imagine. Like
Yeah.
rent in London is high and everything. But luckily, you know, like Gary was there, and he's like, guys, I think now is the time. I'm gonna find a way to sign you because I think, you know, like your place is here in the UK. You should keep doing this.
Yeah.
So like he signed us, and there was our first step of the team. Then we had our lawyer. Her name is like Lizzie. Still is our lawyer. And then we met after our lawyer with our manager, which is Marco from Modest Management, and also that was like, you know, like an amazing
connection. And then there was a connection coming through Lizzie. So basically, like, I think the common thread here is great people can introduce you to great people. And like, I think, you know, we trusted Gary so much, and when we met Lizzie, it was obvious she was wonderful, and we were like, okay, she's the one. And then when Lizzie spoke us about Marco, when we met with Marco, it was like, clearly it's the one. So it's like I think you feel that, and so it's that's how we started. And
so it took about, you know, like from Gary up until now, it took about like, I'd say like 3-4 years to have a proper team in place now.
Yeah.
And in the like where we love and trust everyone. And, you know, like, and same goes also like, you know, like on the live side, you know, when we go and perform, you know, like we have our people that travel with us, and we love them and trust them with our life. And, you know, like also that, of course, it's very important. Like you're actually traveling with them.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And also, Will, is about like, there's something when you meet someone, you know, before you touched about the about, you know, energy in the room when you have sessions and stuff, and maybe you don't resonate with someone, and, you know, someone on paper can be amazing, and then you meet and there's no connection there.
Zero.
And we always give much more value to how amazing it feels to be with that person and how well we click, and rather than, oh, but that person did that, he worked with this, or he achieved that. That is secondary. It's much more about, you know.
You're so right. I talk about this so often, right? Is like, there's people that I go in a session with that we generally make utter shit music. Like one of my best friends in the world, okay? Like guy called his artist name. He's got multiple artist names. He's been on the podcast 3-4 times. Rose Riot, one of my favorite artists out there. He's also one of my best friends. I was just best man at his wedding. Every time we get in the studio together, we make the worst music possibly known to man. It's fucking awful, right? But it's like, we just we're just always having fun. And the connection, and I'd rather go in a session with him than go in a session with Sabrina Carpenter and it be an absolute boring session. But we make a hit record, and I make a shit ton of money. That's don't get me wrong, would be nice to have that, right?
Yeah.
But because there's still a business in this. But realistically, like, in the crux of it, in this day and age where making money in this industry gets harder and harder, and I think where we're kind of always up against streaming platforms and social media and all of that.
Yeah.
The one thing that is enjoyable is, in my opinion, is the actual making of the music.
Absolutely.
And being in the room with somebody that I want to go and have a dinner with, and I want to go and enjoy and learn about their family life and learn about life outside of music for them, and kind of who they are as human beings. That's way more important to me.
1,000%.
Way more important. Like, you know, when we spend a day with Fred, I go back home and I'm the happiest man on planet Earth. You know, we spend a day with the Swedes, and I go back home and I feel the best man in the world. It just that is incredibly valuable. It's
the
Unreal.
the human connection is probably the most valuable of things ever. And I think that's also why that goes also like into music and live shows, like to me the value, like at least I hope and I feel that, like to me the value of what it's like streaming and views and followers and like content at some point is not going to be as valuable as like the human artist that is there and you go watch him play live.
I 100% agree.
That's that. Yeah.
Which then goes on to my next question about your live show.
Yeah.
Because I think there's something. I did a live show for my album as well. It's slightly different to how you guys. Mine was also more about big visuals and things like that as well. But when I watch your live show, just the clips that you I've not seen you guys live, but the clips that you share, there's something so much more about the human connection, which I feel like is lost or getting more and more lost nowadays. I think it's coming back due to Boiler Room becoming fashionable again, and kind of the intimate sets are becoming fashionable. But I feel like what you guys are doing on a live show is something that most people in the electronic world aren't. Was there like a conscious effort to do that, or was it just naturally what you guys would do?
No, it was very conscious. We always told each other whenever we're going to start to play live, we want to start with small rooms, like playing on the floor, having people around us shoulder to shoulder while we play live certain things. Also because what we play and the way we play, it's very visual and engaging, and it's a shame to be on a stage far from people's and they don't understand what we do. And also like the energy and the connection is not there. So we always told each other we have to be on the floor. We need to have people literally like next to us. Also like up to a point that it becomes difficult to play. But I would prefer to make more effort into playing my parts very well with people pushing me and being there and having the best time, other than being like so far on the stage alone with a big screen behind me.
Yeah, we love that. We love that. And obviously we know there's a ceiling, it would be hard to do that for 5,000 people, and it's the nature, but
is there a ceiling though? Is there a ceiling though?
I don't know. Maybe
I don't know if there is, by the way,
I'd push back on that, because like you look at like Dave Chappelle doing Madison Square Garden in the round, right? Yeah, of course, like 50,000 people aren't all like up on you, but I feel like there is a way that you guys can do it on a stadium level and it still be just as close to what it is in a 200 cap venue in what you do.
Thank you. No, but I feel the same. There are ways to make it happen. So there's a ceiling, but maybe not.
Maybe not. The ceiling.
Because I think it's just how you present it. I think it's how you present it, right? Like, yes, 50,000 people compared to 500 is a very different atmosphere anyway. But like, okay, big screens, like amazing sound systems, like you can still create that energy very easily. It's just
I think you're right. Yeah, to me, there's something very beautiful about small rooms. There's an intimacy there that is unbelievable. And I think like even if things go well and let's touch wood and we keep growing and we're going to be able to play a big venue, I still think with our core fans we're going to do our 700
small shows is going to always
900 caps venue, and everyone is going to be there with us jumping, and I don't know, I don't think I ever want to lose that. There's something so like when the Swedes did a pop-up in London, it was 2-3 years ago, right? Do you remember? Probably, it was like a super small venue.
D1 was amazing.
How magical was that? And I think there's a beauty in the small intimate show that I think it's special.
But I think you also have to be realistic, right? It's like doing a live show is expensive, right?
Yeah,
it's expensive unless it's just you two traveling by yourself, setting everything up yourself, and kind of just rolling out yourself. I don't know how many people do you travel with when you're
one.
So it's pretty. That's pretty affordable, right? But it's still you're touring with multiple people. It gets expensive.
Yeah.
And very time consuming. So there does come a point where you almost have to go to bigger rooms to make it financially viable, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially in the Parisi, if you take your songwriting out of it, right, and you're trying to run a business as just Parisi, unless you have massive hit records, like the touring is where the finances are.
Yeah.
So you have to make the finances work. And if you can sell 10,000 tickets, you can sell 10,000 tickets, and
absolutely,
that's the business. The business side of it is going to be where it's at, right?
Yep. Yeah, 1,000%.
But it is amazing, and I want to come to one of these shows.
Thank you,
please.
Let me know when you're doing some more. Are you planning more?
We are planning. Well, we want to do I think we'll do a like a London show again after summer, probably October, and it will be in a bigger room of like that what we did our last.
Where was the last one?
At Color Factory.
Yeah, cool.
So we started Corsica Studios, did a few nights over there. Then we did Color Factory, which was amazing. And to be honest, we didn't expect that. Like we always scared of like, okay, we need to do a bigger room. Are we going to sell those tickets and everything? But luckily it was amazing. So now we want to try and push a tiny bit more, doing a bigger room. But the way we want to prepare the next show, it would be like, like there would be more effort to make it even better in terms of like sound system, lights, and everything. Like we want to make one step more of what we did so far.
No, I love that. I'm really excited to see what comes out of the Parisi camp in the next couple of years. It's going to be interesting.
Thank you, Will.
I love what you've done. I really like how you've done it as well. It feels so planned, whether it is or not. It feels very planned from an outsider looking in. So I just want to say, keep it up. Thanks for everything you've done, and
thank you.
Hopefully catch you in person.
Thank you so much.
Yes, please, absolutely. Let's meet very soon. Anytime you are in London or around, like we are in Bedfordshire, so we are trying to be up north.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Let's let us know when you're around. Come over and we have a coffee. We can play some music.
Let's do it, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
thanks so much for coming on.
And thank you so much.
Keep in touch.
And like I think, like back to your point of the podcast, I know it could be time consuming, but I think what you're doing is amazing and it's going to pay off.
It really is.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Let's hope it does.
It does. I'm sure.
Big love, lads. Stay on.
Love, Will.
Thank you, Will. Big love to you.
And that's a wrap. Thanks for listening. Please share, please subscribe, please give us some comments. Let us know. Also, there is a WhatsApp group. If you want to join, link is in the caption or description, whatever you want to call it. Till next time, people.